If you've got to this point, congratulations, you've just about finished the actual 3D modelling. What we're going to do next, though, is to look at the outputs, and we're going to create an exploded view. Then in the next final video, we're going to look at creating scenes and putting decals on and doing the final touch-ups required for presentation. So to start off with, I'm going to show you how to create an exploded view. Now we go to the Configurations Manager. If you haven't used configurations in the past, I highly recommend that you look into this some more. Configurations are extremely powerful. You can create configurations of individual components. So with different configurations of, say, different colors, one configuration might have certain features turned on or off, perhaps a hole that's in one but not in another. And the possibilities for creating different configurations for components is almost endless. You can have different dimensions for different components in different configurations as well, so it's very powerful. In assemblies, you can also have configurations, and so you can have different configurations of an assembly. So you might have one assembly where you have certain components in that assembly, and a different assembly where you have a different set of components. You can also have the two of the same component in an assembly, but those two components are a different configuration of the same part. So again, it gets a little bit confusing, but it's incredibly powerful, and there's a lot that can be done with it. So I highly recommend that you learn about configurations and use them as much as possible. In this case, we're going to have one configuration that has an exploded view and another configuration that is not exploded. So to do that, we're going to create a new assembly. So if you right-click on the Configurations tab there and go to Add Configuration, I'm just going to call that New. You see there's a tab now that says New, and that's a new configuration of the hairdryer assembly. So we'll tick next to it because it's the one that's active. You right-click on that, and you've got a whole load of options. New exploded view is what we want to create. So exploded views are created by using a series of steps, and each step is a component that has been moved away from the other components. So to do that, we select the first feature we want. Now think carefully about the order in which you want to have the views exploded. So for example, I'm going to move this heat shield first, because without the heat shield removed, you can't separate the two halves. So think about creating your assembly view in the order in which you would disassemble the actual product itself, in as much as you can. So to move a component in an exploded view, you'll see there's a triad of X, Y, and Z axes. You can drag a component in any one of the X, Y, or Z directions. You can also, if you're not happy with that, you can also input a certain number into the dialog box if you want to extend things. Once you're happy with what you've done, you can just hit Done, and it will go on to the next step. And then you simply select the next component and grab the triad that you want to move, and then just drag and drop it, drag it into the position that you want. Or, as I said before, type in a natural dimension. Hit Done, and then go through and do that with all the components. Now, if you select two components, they'll go into the same step. So in this case, we don't want to have two in the same step, so just go back. Done. Now, sometimes you don't want to move a component just in the X, Y, or Z axes. For example, this trigger comes out of a hole which is actually slightly at an angle, so you don't necessarily want to do that. Now, if you select a cylindrical surface like this, what it will do is, or if you select the angle, so you can move this in any direction you want. If you select the center of the triad like this, you can then drag that triad around to various flat face like this. So if you drag that onto a flat face, what it will allow you to do is to move along direction which is perpendicular to that face. So that's a useful little feature. So once you've created your exploded view, you can collapse that. You can animate the collapse as well. So if you right click on exploded view and say animate collapse, what will happen is, so again, a very useful thing for demonstrating to people how something is going to be put together. This can also be recorded as an animation. So if you click on this button here, it will save it as an animation. And again, as I said, very useful way of demonstrating to people how something is made.
The last thing we're going to use the exploded view for is to create a drawing and to show you how to put an exploded view into a drawing. For this, we're simply going to create a new drawing. So go in File, New, and this time we're going to select Drawing. So once you have your drawing open, you can then decide what to put into the drawing. And as we have the hairdresser assembly open, we can just put that straight in. Otherwise, we'd have to go to Insert, Model, Drawing View, and then put something in manually. That way, this is the easier way of doing it. You just double click on there and drag and drop the view in. What we can do is just right click on this view, and we can go to, we can select the angle that we want. Let's just say we want an angle like that, and we want to use that as the exploded view. On the left-hand side, we have this option of show an exploded or model break state. So just click on that, and there's your exploded view. So sometimes we're not really happy with the angle that we're looking at. So we want to rotate that view to something that's a little bit more appropriate. And if we click on this 3D drawing view, we can then just grab that and rotate the whole view to wherever it is that we think is most appropriate. The next thing we're going to do is to put in a bill of materials. Now, that bill of materials is really just a parts list, and I'll show you how to do that. So if we go Insert, Tables, Bill of Materials, select the view we want, which is the only view on here, and we've got a few options. We've got top level only, parts only, indented. We'll select what we want, hit OK, and then we have this bill of materials that we can place where we want. Now we need to move the drawing view out of the way. What we need to do is to put balloons off each one of these components. So the
final thing we need to do is to put in tags on each one of these components so that we know which item is which. So for this we go Insert, Annotations, Balloons. In this case we're just going to go Auto Balloon. And just put balloons everywhere we want. Now there's a few options for auto balloons. You can put balloons above, to the side, around like this, or you can just drag them and move them into a position. That's good. As a general rule of thumb, what we do is we make sure that the balloon lines don't cross each other and that the balloon lines don't cross over existing other components or other balloon lines or other balloons. So go around and move everything to the right spot and something that makes some sense.
So once you've gone through and you've moved all the balloons into the right location, you can then just edit the bill of materials table into something that looks reasonable, and then you're complete.